What it is, what it do, cyber world. It is your girl, the one, the only Ash Said It. AshSaidIt.com. AshSaidIt.com, baby babies. Thank you and welcome back to the Ash Said It Daily podcast show. I appreciate each and every one of you guys' support, all your love. This week we hit 10,000 hits on the website, and I would not have had that if it weren't for you guys supporting me throughout everything, all the shares, all the likes, all the emails. All of that has helped to put our brand out there, and I just want to say thank you. And we've got so much more to show you guys this summer as we unleash some little secrets here and there, some little tidbits. You never quite know what Ash will be up to next, but I appreciate and love all of you guys, all of the support. So today we have a treat. We have a national contributor that has been all over the globe. Okay, this lady is an award-winning journalist, coverage on a range of different beats: travel, sports, entertainment, movies. You've heard her voice. You've seen her face, CNN, Atlanta, and everybody else around the globe. This is the one and only Miss Dayvee Sutton. Miss Dayvee, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Ash.
Oh, thank you so much. I know you're a busy lady, with Falcon season. We're on the heels of Falcon season and the new arena. Everybody's getting excited.
Right.
So I appreciate you having time for us today, and looking forward to chatting it up with you.
Thank you.
All right, Dayvee. So let everybody know where you're from. What city do you represent?
Oh, man. So for now, I represent the A, but I come from Los Angeles. So I'm always a Cali girl through and through. Southern California, hippie baby.
Oh,
I
wow.
actually used to realize that I used to wear flowers in my hair, like from end of high school to like the beginning through college.
Yeah.
And I restarted that. So you might start seeing me with flowers in my hair all over the place. But yeah. I'm that gal, but I'm a Southern gal, too, because I've been in the Southeast for a while, most of my adulthood. So.
Yeah. Cool beans. Well, I just want to say, welcome to Atlanta, and we love California. I love Cali. Just the whole atmosphere out there is just so carefree, it's
hard to have troubles when the weather's so good.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, Davey. It is just absolutely beautiful out there. That wind that just comes in from the ocean, I'm like, what?
It tickles your skin. It's just perfect.
My goodness. It's like you're sitting on a cloud somewhere, literally. But I will say the real estate brings me back down to reality.
Yeah, right.
That much I can say.
Amongst other things.
But yeah, we love Cali. So, Dayvee, let everyone know, as far as your background goes, you have just a vast... your resume precedes itself, and I applaud you on that, and I aspire to be on your level or possibly, doing in the same realm, maybe not in the same lane as you, because everybody's got their own lane, but I definitely aspire to do a lot of other great things in this world. But as a child, Dayvee, what did you want to be?
That's a great question, because I always say, and this goes back to where I was raised in Southern California. I think I had a warped sense of what it was to become successful. And I talk about this a lot because it doesn't matter. I grew up mostly in the Valley, but you get the images of if you are a success, you have to be a celebrity or an athlete, and then that's the lane. So the local doctor wasn't considered a success. He wasn't driving the fancy cars. He was just basically middle class. So that wasn't anything you aspired to be great. So that kind of warped my sense of what I wanted to be. But even before that, when I was a little child, I would watch television, and I would go into the other room, I would see a scene, and then I would go into the other room and act out the scene. So I thought for a long time that I wanted to be an actress, but I'm a very poor actress, and I'm also quite shy, which, even though I'm a presenter next, acting, I think, makes you go deeper than just being yourself on television and broadcast. And that's a whole different conversation about the extrovert introvert kind of thing. But so I'm saying all of this background to say that I would literally have friends in school that would leave for 2 weeks and go shoot their TV show and then come back. And I don't know if it was a mix of like authentically wanting to be in front of the camera, you know, as a little child, or and the combination of seeing others do it, and also like in the 90s there were a lot of kids shows and a lot of people that looked like us on television. So I think it was just how all of that, the socialization that I had, and so I knew I wanted to do something like that. But to fast forward to through my journey as a broadcaster to what I'm doing now and travel, I had a great kind of aha moment. I made a pivot in my career. You alluded to some of my background. I worked mostly in sports, and then I hosted a lifestyle and entertainment show, and then I left traditional broadcast to host my own travel show. And when I did that, my mom said, you know, you used to watch that girl on the Travel Channel, Samantha Brown, and say, she has the best job. And it was like, I did used to say that, and we used to take road trips in the summer. My dad would rent an RV, and we'd go across the country about 4 or 5 years in a row, and I would play eyewitness news on the side of the road, like of Grand Canyon, and of course I would make my little brother be the cameraman, and my sister could sometimes co-anchor, but I didn't really want her as a co-anchor.
You got to start them off early, you know,
right.
Get them working.
It was more like I wanted to be the star of the eyewitness news and didn't want her, but okay, she could do it sometimes. So it's a combination of like I did have this in me in different ways and influenced in different ways to what I'm doing now. So I love that question that you asked, because I think it does go back to what you wanted to do or be when you were a kid.
Absolutely. So was there any one person that was a big influence that encouraged you to follow this goal?
So I wouldn't say there was one person, but each step in my career, there would be people that I would look to and say, wow, she's amazing. I want to be like her in my own way. Kind of like the great compliment, thank you, that you gave me a moment ago. But so I'll say I went through college. My undergrad degree is in the study of world religions. Now, the way I grew up in Southern California, you always hear about it being a melting pot. And I had very diverse friends, especially I was in the IB and honors classes, so I had a lot of foreign friends, and some of them first and second generation, and I was always fascinated with their stories. So that's also a part of me and my drive for storytelling now as an adult and as a career. I was always fascinated with their stories, their culture, because they have culture, and you know, part of the story of African Americans is part of our history is erased. So they know they have all of these other cultures have these long lines of like stories about knowing where this food, why they like this food, and so forth and so on. And some of them were my best friends, so I would go to their houses. And two of my best friends growing up, one was Pakistani, so I would go to her house and eat their food, and one was Egyptian, and her mother would give me grape leaves. So I was exposed to this. I went to their churches. I got to go to their churches, and it's interesting. I think that's the flexibility on my parents' part, because we were, you know, we went to church all the time, Christian, black church, but they had no problems of letting us be exposed to everybody else's culture.
Right.
And so I graduated. When I was in school, I thought I wanted. The other thing about growing up, amongst the things that I just told you that I like to do, whenever somebody asked me what I wanted to do, I would always say I wanted to be a lawyer, and my sister would always say she wanted to be a doctor. But that's one of those things that I think your parents tell you, and you're like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like I'm going to make money when I grow up, and that sounds sophisticated. But I don't think I really ever had an interest. And when I went to college and started taking some of those classes, I was like, I am absolutely not interested in this at all. So I was kind of looking around in the book and found this tiny major that was just so small that that nobody really knew about, and it was called the study of religion. So one thing about me is I don't like to do things that everybody else does anyway. So I was like, oh, this is a little obscure. And then the second thing is that. I was like, let's see what this is about. So it was I went to UCLA. So a lot of times people say, I say the study of religion. They're like, oh, like you wanted to be a pastor. And I was like, yeah, see, that's a very American way of
thinking.
Because I said religion, world religion. So we did a lot of study of history, anthropology, and I was just fascinated. Like we had one year, each week I had to visit different temples and religious houses. So like I spent a week in a Hindu temple, a week in a mosque, and all of these things, and just talking to people and learning their stories. So when I graduated, I still thought I wanted to do entertainment. So I had this kind of like, I don't really know what I want to do. Maybe I should try to model. And I did a little modeling things. And maybe, yes, that's what I want to do is be an entertainer because that's how you're successful. And it took me, I didn't get into this industry easy. And I always had to work hard every step of the way. So if you do look at my resume and you see, oh, well, you hopped from this place to this place and this next great place. It's always been, even to this day, something that I had to fight for. So I think that's something that your audience should realize too. Sometimes even on my social media, I part of my social media voice, depending on which platform you're looking at, is to make to inspire you. So it's like I'm around all these places around the world, and the motive is to inspire you, not to make you jealous. But I also sometimes hear like, oh, you have this, whimsical, fantastical lifestyle, and I want to make clear my message is that it's not. I work very hard. I actually work like 14 to 16 hours a day. And I don't want to make it look easy because it's not easy. No. It's not easy at all. So when I remember being kind of in the space in my early 20s, like 21, and thinking, I just graduated and thinking like, well, do I want to go back to school? Oh, I'm a little exhausted with school. Maybe I should go back to school, get another degree. And then the Best Damn Sports Show period came on, and I remember seeing Lisa Guerrero.
Yeah.
And I remember I just loved that she was drop dead gorgeous. She was hanging with the guys, which is something that I always did when I was in college. Like, I loved hanging with the guys because guys seem to have more fun.
Yeah.
So I had tons of guy friends in college. So I was like, she's hanging with guys, she's talking sports, she's part of the crew, but then she's still holding her own. I was like, that's what I wanted to do. So that was a point, and that was a full circle moment because later on in my career, like maybe 10 years later, I told that story. Somebody shared it with her, and then we connected, and she was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Yeah, so it was like a fangirl / like, wow, this is a great moment for both of us, I'm sure. Find out that, and so back to your original question, she was one person. Another person I connected with who I've looked up to, and then she asked me to actually speak on her foundation empowerment tour is Soledad O'Brien. And Soledad made the transition from working for companies to starting her own company and producing her own materials. And I remember seeing her story, being inspired by it because at CNN our paths never did cross, but kind of knew each other. And then telling that story to her, and then she invited me last year to speak on her tour, her powerful tour. So that's another kind of like person that inspired me in the journey. And then most recently, actually last weekend, that story I told you about Samantha Brown, I met her in person and shared with her my story, and she said she is all for women in travel. There's not that many of us doing it, and wants to help promote my show. So that was like a total fangirl moment. So along the way, I wouldn't say there was one person, but along the way, even though I didn't know these people, I would see these faces in media, I'd connect to them and somehow, and then within me think I can do that and kind of figure out how can I carve this path to do it.
Definitely. Okay. That's really cool. And I'm glad that you actually got to, a lot of people will get inspiration from others that maybe they see through the media and they never actually get to connect with them directly or meet them. So the fact that you got both, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is amazing. So, with your journey thus far, what do you feel has been your biggest challenge as a female journalist?
So, a lot of the challenges are I talk a lot of this with my team that I work with or that I consult with. Some of these things are intangible, so it's a combination. So I'm a Black female, and so some of these things aren't outright that you can say I didn't get this opportunity because I'm a Black female. Like, you can't pinpoint it,
right?
But you just look back and see who they did position in. No, somebody that doesn't look like you. And so the challenge is to, like, that isn't something that I can control. And one of the reasons that I did start my own company was I knew I wanted to get in. This is the long-term plan for me, and I wanted to position myself where I didn't have to ever ask anybody for a job. And the things that I did want to do, I can just do them and not have to be accepted or ask somebody for a job or somebody have to hire me for a particular job. Even though I do work a lot with, like, leveraging contracts and stuff, it's still impossible. I can come up with the concept for a show and then produce it, and nobody can say, you're not the right fit, or, we don't see you in this position. So that, the challenge, and that is something that I think I had to develop early on, probably even a teenager, is just kind of creating my own way. So that is a challenge in yourself. So, like, a lot of people, I do get a lot of compliments of, like, wow, you're amazing, like, because you know, like, so determined, nothing holds you back. And it's kind of a check box that I check off in my head to say, like, is this something that I can live without, or is it something that I really want to do? So that in itself is a challenge, and it's a character trait that I have, and some people have it, and I realize along this journey that some people don't. So a lot of times you hear people preach entrepreneurship or make your own brand and all that stuff, but everybody isn't built that way. Those who are built that way have to accept that everybody isn't, because you need people to also work for you too. So you don't need all entrepreneurs to work for you, even though you connect probably most with people that have that spirit. So I would say my entire journey through this career and to where I am now has been a challenge, because another example that I gave to somebody last weekend was I had this great career in sports, and I actually did walk away from it. But if it was something like I was the toted face of a particular network for, like, a sideline reporter job, and I was their, shining star girl, I probably would never take this entrepreneurship journey, because I would be, the red carpet was rolled out to me, and I was given all the esteemed benefits, right? But when I always saw the writing on the wall of, like, yeah, you're good, but you're not our star, and not that I had to be their star, but I knew that didn't mean security. So if I had a job that was like, oh, I'm the queen of this,
right,
it wouldn't be in this position now. So that's part of my journey, and I wanted to give that rounded story to show that when you asked a struggle or obstacle, it's the essence of this entire journey, but it's more like a roller coaster. So there are highs, lows, and all of that.
Absolutely. And basically what I just got from you is basically you wanted to hold the rank. You wanted to be in control of your own destiny and your own future. And a lot of people out there, because people look at me sometime and they're like, oh, well, Ash, you're doing this, you're doing that, and everything's just so wonderful. They don't see the background work that I have to do. They don't see you in the trenches. They don't see you getting dirty. They don't see the hours on end that you're pouring into your craft. And, when they see you on a red carpet or they see you on the movie screen or whatever the case is, they just think, oh, well, she just, she was made for that. That was just totally, overnight. And it's like, okay, I've been doing this for well over a decade, number one, and it takes work on top of it, number two. I think that people should understand that having a dream is wonderful. It's great. It's something that I feel everyone has. Everyone has their own dream, but you've got to put in the work. You've got to.
when I was a kid, one of the things that did stick with me with the magical Oprah is that you remember when she said success is when preparation meets opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And that always stuck with me because maybe up until then, I don't know, because I was very young when I heard that, but it just resonated with me, and understanding that prepare yourself, and then when the opportunity comes, you can execute it, and then you can be the one picked, right? Because you've been preparing. You've been preparing for 10 years, and then now the podcast is like, people are following. But it doesn't mean that you weren't. That means you were. You know what was working. You tested the waters. You were seeing what didn't work. You were working on like that. That's exactly what I had to do, because so I go back to like my 22-year-old self when I saw Lisa Guerrero on the screen. So what I did was like, okay, so I started looking up where I can study to get in, because by this time people had already studied communications or broadcast, and so they were already prepared with demo reels, and they even probably studied it in school on how to become a journalist. And so, but the bottom line for journalism is that you don't have to study journalism to become a journalist.
Right.
It's probably better to have a specific skill set. This is just a little side note for be listening. But back in the early 2000s, that's what I was like, okay, so now I know after I graduate and have this college debt what I would like to pursue. So how do I do that? And so I remember, so I saw her, I was inspired, and in the meantime, when I was looking up for where to study, I was practicing. So I would record myself, as painful as it was, because I knew what she had was a particular presentation. Then I started to ask around to friends who I knew that were in it, and people were connecting me to people that they knew at CNN or ESPN, just like other producers, and I was just asking questions, and that was the like foundational groundwork, because I learned maybe 10 years earlier that when I was a kid watching Oprah, that preparation meets opportunity. So I did the preparing work because I wanted to be good. You can't do it and not be good. What is my voice? And I worked on it. I remember self-shooting yourself.
Oh,
you probably did some of this too. Like, that's hard work. You're sweating like you put your hair and makeup on, and then you set up the shot and you're sweating by the time you're like ready to get the shot done, and all of that, like all of that stuff. And I remember then I learned you had to get a reel. So then I would go try to find stories around town, and like go to baseball fields, and like and just try to do it on my own. I was in hustle mode. Which I don't think I've ever turned off hustle mode.
I don't think you can. I think you just stay. It just stays on coasting.
Yeah. So I mean, we like what you just said. Like, you just have to reinforce that you have the dream and you have to work to get to that dream, and that combination of preparing yourself. So when the magical opportunity is there, it's like, oh, where have you been my whole life? And then that's when you become that shooting star.
Absolutely. All right, Dayvee, so what current projects are you working on right now?
Tons. So in March, and this actually took 2 years to produce, and now we're off and running and already shooting the second season. But I launched my travel show, Beyond the Usual, which is you can find it on Amazon Prime Video, along with those other Amazon Prime Video shows. So that's a blessing to be there on that platform. Also, Roku. There's a Beyond. If you have a Roku, there's a Beyond the Usual channel app. You can also find us on TripSmart. We are, and if you go to the Daily Affair, which is our lifestyle website, that's also, you go to www.daily-affair.com. You can see all the wonderful posts that we have there on lifestyle and travel, but there is a where to watch page, because it's actually available for many different platforms worldwide. That is one of the main projects that we're working on. But then we also, back to the Daily Affair, we have a YouTube channel, that you can follow. That's where it's more, there's a lot of travel tips. So Beyond the Usual is the travel show,
right.
And then you find travel tips on the Daily Fare and also lifestyle tips. And I like doing DIY projects, so you can see that stuff on our YouTube channel. And then on social media, I'm at Dayvee Sutton on everything, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then you can also follow the Daily Fare on Twitter and Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dayvee. And before we go, just like you were saying, you saw Soledad and all those really prolific women doing those things that inspired you to aspire to do something bigger than yourself. Right now, somewhere in the world, there is a young girl that sees you and is having that same type of experience. What advice would you offer to that young girl that aspires to be similar to you?
So you can do it. You are worthy. A lot of times I would be in I want to add, these very intimidating places with these stars,
mm-hmm.
and be incredibly anxious and not even realize it. And one time I had a co-host tell me, I think she was seeing it wear down on me,
mm-hmm.
and told me, you are meant to be here, you are worthy. And I remember there was this period where this show I was hosting, I would have to go into the bathroom before the show would start. I had this one phase of kind of just a lot of self-doubt, and I would look myself in the mirror and in the eyes and say, you're worthy, you're meant to be here. So that's what I would start with. If you can do some sort of affirmations to get your guts up, because different people have different backgrounds. A lot of us don't even have people in our lives to speak that into us.
Mm-hmm.
So where does that come from? And at a certain point, I remember somebody said, by the time you turn 30, you can no longer blame your mom for things. You have to take the reign of your life in your own hands.
Mm-hmm.
So that I would say, start with a good foundation. So you have this dream and see what I'm doing and what you're doing too, Ash, and you want to do a life like that for yourself. Start with the foundation and encourage yourself and realize when you do beat yourself up, oh man, look at my thighs, oh man, my nose is too wide.
Mm-hmm.
Stop your mind, and somehow, even if you don't believe it at first, because there are days when I don't believe it.
Yeah.
You look in the mirror and you're like, I look raggedy today. Who would want me? And this is real talk, and you have to just say it. Say it. Words are powerful. That's step A. Step B is what we both talk about and what we both do is prepare yourself, train yourself. How do you do that? Do you guys have more resources now than we did?
Yes.
Just because you have YouTube and you can put in YouTube how to for everything.
Yeah.
And people are always doing these courses on how to get into it, this or that field or whatever. So invest in some training and train yourself, and then practice, and then prepare yourself for that opportunity. But the most brilliant thing that is available today, which you don't have to wait as long as I did or Ash did, is that you can do it you can publish yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So then start building your own audience. And so building your own audience, then that speaks volumes to the long-term eyes, the bigger eyes, the brands, and to the network. So they're like, this person has something. And whereas before they were the keepers of the gate of who had something, if you come with an audience of 100,000 for your something that normally they wouldn't normally cast, they can't deny that there's something there because you have 100,000 followers or people engaged with you. So those would be the 3 steps, I would say.
Absolutely. Dayvee Sutton, you guys, thank you so much for being on the program today, Dayvee. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge and sharing your story. You know, a lot of people can sometimes, I want to say, well, yeah, sometimes people forget that, you know, we're all human. we all came from someplace. And we didn't just fall out into the sky into what you're doing. And so that's what I really wanted to come across to the audience and to let them know that, yeah, you've got these great accomplishments, but it came from determination, work. I can't tell you, and I'm sure that you can name it as well, as many times as people have told me, no, you're not what we want. You're not what we need.
More than yes.
Yes. And I mean, it can wear on you. And if you don't have a good background, and I love what you said about the affirmations, because I also, I keep affirmations around me morning, noon, and night, because as we're human beings, we're not robots. You're going to have days when you're not going to feel your best. You're not going to, be in that mode of, yes, I'm going to go and conquer. You're going to have those low moments. Just don't stay there. Right. That's just really what it comes down to. So I hope that you guys got some good leverage on how to continue on your week and jumping into June tomorrow. But I really appreciate and love each and every one of you. Thank you for supporting me and for being on this movement with me. This show has grown tremendously since 2015. We now have over 250,000 listens worldwide. So what that means is 250,000 people have listened to at least one show. So I'm too thrilled and excited about that, from going to a show where I was just talking to myself, mostly in the car, headed to the gym, to now I am talking with award-winning journalists and so many really prolific stars, and it's not by accident. None of it is by accident. So you can do whatever it is that you want to do. Anyone to tell you that you can't do what you want to do, you look them square in the face and tell them, don't believe me, just watch. Watch what I do. Watch me make it happen. Watch me make history. Because that's what we're doing this for. We're doing this for the history books. Social media is nice. It's cool. It's fun. But real life is so much better. I will talk with you guys later. Peace.